towards the clock and put your arm on your hip.
My arm is on my hip. That's where it lives. My flexion. So anyway.
It's fucking hard to watch because your body twists.
Oh yeah.
But I'm like, oh, fucking, are you still okay?
You're going down. But you're going down. I feel like you probably have taken a few fucking
It's a
steps
little
on
part
this
of
journey.
it.
Oh yeah. Figuring shit out.
I take too many small problems.
Like,
Go, all out, all out.
In through the nose, out through the mouth on the rest.
Hardcore parkour. Parkour, parkour.
I mean, those boys are not just my friends, they've become my family. We've been through some of the hardest things together and some of the most fun things together, and at the end of the day, you know, we just want to create this world for adaptive athletes that isn't a show, right? This is a real life. This is our real life. Every single one of us own a gym. Every single one of us have similar goals when it comes to able-bodied athletes and adaptive athletes. You want to help people change their life. And so WheelWOD has now taken that and just magnified it for us. Steph Hammerman, Hammer Driven Fitness. April of 2016, believe it or not, I was the fittest I'd ever been in my entire life. And I was very happy with the way that I was feeling, the way my body was looking, and the way that I was functioning as not only an athlete, but as a coach. I had a wonderful job and really loved my athletes and started connecting with them. And I remember about mid-April, I started to not feel so well. Ended up going to the doctor's office, and it took about 3 weeks for them to really give me a diagnosis. I had to go to New York, ended up in New York, and the doctors had told me I had Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 3B, which meant that it was inside of my body and really starting to or could have attacked my organs. So I got very lucky that it didn't. I used fitness and just a positive outlook to really help me get there, and I was cancer-free in 7 weeks out of 29 weeks of treatment. Definitely went through some struggles while going through chemo. It wasn't really the mental part of it that was hard. It was the physical transformation. I lost my hair and I gained a ton of weight. Where most people lose weight, I gained about 80 pounds. And so losing that sight of who I was, the physical sight of who I was, and seeing myself in the mirror every day, losing those muscles and kind of just losing a piece of myself, I kind of started to doubt if people would truly believe that I was a coach. And then, well, what would they think about me if I opened my own gym, right? And I'm kind of going in the other direction now. I'm getting back to being fit and being healthy. And so having that perspective has actually helped me connect with some people a little bit easier. And I think it helps the person that's coming in who isn't as fit and seeing, okay, well, I can reach my goals. It's just going to take some time. I met Chris at some point in that transition time. We met on social media, or we started talking on social media. He was the first one I had met in our group of friends. And, we chatted, and he was like, listen, I'm the first guy really in a chair doing this, and you're the first with CP, like we should just keep talking. And we kind of threw workouts at each other. And then all of a sudden, Kevin got hurt. And I remember sending Kevin a message, and I said, I know life sucks right now. I said, but when you're ready, I want to be your friend. And I sent him a shirt of mine, my Adapt and Conquer shirt, and I sent him a note. And a couple of weeks later, he reached out to me on Facebook and said, hey, like, thanks so much for your message. I'd love to connect with you. And it's just kind of been like a snowball effect in that sense. And then Kevin and Stouty connected, then Stouty, Kevin, and I connected, and then we ended up getting connected with Gustavo. And that was the first time we'd all been together in a room. It was actually my 25th birthday on the day. We were in California in Gustavo's gym, and the energy in that room was electrifying. We didn't look at each other as though we were in a chair or we had some sort of difference. It was, hey, what can you do? You want to try this? Because I want to try this. And I think Stouty was starting to get it together. He was starting to put some workouts together, but it wasn't wheel wad as it is today. And so we just started throwing workouts at each other, and it really just clicked.
Kevin Ogar, CrossFit Watchtower.
They got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon it double. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back.
So before my accident in CrossFit, I was a 4-time regional competitor, almost games athlete, had I been a little bit better than I was. I had been in barbell sports since I was 12 years old, so 16 years at that point of being around weightlifting, powerlifting, CrossFit, and then coaching, 7 classes a day, 5 days a week at a CrossFit affiliate. And had been doing that for 6 or 7 years at that point. So very involved in the CrossFit community from 2007 on. Right before my accidents, my plans were to make the games. Like that, I was making the games that year. I had been close in previous years. I had never been fitter. I had never been more prepared. I was making the games that year. January 12th of 2014 was the day I got paralyzed due to a ricochet barbell. I was in a competition called the OC Throwdown. It was the 3rd day of competition. I wasn't doing as well as I had hoped, but the event that I got paralyzed by was actually one that was going to help me jump pretty high. It was a 3-rep max hang snatch. At the time I was snatching right around 300, maybe a little over 300 pounds. And so going into that, knowing that there was really no one else in the field that was going to be able to out-snatch me, I was pretty stoked about the event because it was 3-rep max hang snatch, and then a back squat, which I was squatting around 500, and then a clean and jerk, which would have been another like 350 or so. And so that was kind of my event. I was super pumped about it. In the warm-up, I actually hit 245 for a triple because that's what I was going to open with. And walking out, my coach was like, hey, no one's hit over 225. Let's bump your opener down and just hit something that will get you in that first place spot. And then if anyone else hits more than that, then we'll decide to go up. But let's save energy for the next 2 events. So I actually dropped 10 pounds off of what I was going to open at to 235. The setup wasn't super safe. It was kind of a slanted floor. They had things sitting around that you really don't have a chance to notice because they kept you in this dark hallway and walked you out and said 3, 2, 1, go. You literally had like 10 seconds from leaving that hallway to get to your platform and get after it. And went to go snatch 235. Felt weird. Knew I could have stood up with it, but kind of felt like if I had tried, I would have either fallen backwards completely and or hyperextended my elbow. So I actually go to bail backwards to try to keep myself from injury, ironically. Barbell hits my left shoulder, knocks me to the ground, hits the weights behind me, and ricochets right back into my spine. And since my hips were pinned to the ground, kind of just ripped me straight in half. So my spine was on 2 different sides of the body. Immediately paralyzed, knew something was wrong, couldn't get up. Screaming in the most agonizing pain I've ever been in. It was like someone put gasoline on every nerve ending in my body and just lit it on fire with a match. And sat there for what felt like forever, but accounts are like 15, 20 minutes before anyone got to me. Transported to the hospital, put under, told I was paralyzed, told to say goodbye to everyone because there was less than a 20% chance of me surviving my first surgery. I think it was like a 12 to 15% chance of surviving the first surgery. So I'm on the phone calling friends and loved ones and everyone I could think of just to tell them goodbye and like, this is it and all these kind of things. And I ended up surviving because I'm stubborn. Actually, thanks to CrossFit, my red blood cell count was so high that even with losing like half my blood, I had enough oxygen in my system not to die. So thanks, CrossFit. Survived that surgery, had my second surgery to fuse my spine, and spent the next 2-3 months in a hospital.
Well, one guy we want to give a special shout out to is Kevin Ogar. I mean, he's a guy that the community's been paying close attention to after that really tragic accident that he went through in January. Ogar found a way to go through 14.4, and this is something that I know is really bringing a smile to a lot of people's faces. It's great to see him just back at it.
I mean, we knew that Kevin was an absolute animal, right? This guy has got huge numbers, but then after his accident, I can't imagine the mental strength that's required to lift weights that in the past, I'm sure, Kevin, were easy for you, now are tough. So my hat's off to him. What an absolute animal.
Yeah, and we've seen CrossFit athletes do incredible things. And next year in the Open, I think we're going to just see these jaw-dropping performances from Kevin.
Yeah, best of luck to him the rest of the way. We're all pulling for you, Kevin. Great job out there.
I mean, the first day I remember, I think it was 5 or 6 days that after my second surgery is the first day I actually remember. Kind of insisted on getting a wheelchair. Wanted to get up, wanted to do things. But I woke up to a GoFundMe page with $300,000 on it in the first 6 days. Through the worldwide CrossFit community, like if you go in there, there actually was a place where you could see where the donations were coming from, and it's like Germany, Japan, Ireland, South America, Africa, like all over the world. It was pretty unreal. Like I didn't know how to take it at first. Like I was pretty overwhelmed by all of it. And then I get to Craig Hospital 11 days later, and one of the first 2 things I get when I was there, I mean, thousands of messages, thousands of words of support on social media, and I get this package from a girl named Stephanie Hammerman with a Adapt and Conquer t-shirt in it, with a note saying like, hey, we've been there, the adaptive community is here to support you, let me know if you need anything. I think about that same day, maybe a day later, I get a message from 2 guys, Chris Stoutenberg and Angel Gonzalez, and both of them are like, hey, like we're paralyzed too, we've been through this, we're here if you need anything. And to this day, it's kind of been like that core group of the wheelchair gang, or wheelwad kind of in general, from their support of me coming into this situation. I consider all of them kind of mentors with this, because there was a lot of times I would freak out about something that happened. I would shoot them a text or call them and be like, hey, is this cool? And then usually the response from Stouty was like, yeah, it's fine, stop being a pansy ass. It was typically his response to anything I sent him. But just kind of, they helped, pun intended, walk me through the situation.
Chris Stoutenberg, CrossFit industry.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to go to the stone for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way.
So we're a CrossFit industry, Collingwood, Ontario. It's kind of the mecca for Ontario for tourism. We've got town of Blue Mountains, ski hills, quite a few private ski resorts. 5 minutes that way, 5 minutes this way we got Wasaga Beach, and then the Collingwood waterfront. CrossFit industry was first established, I think we're 8 years old now. It was set up in a small 2-car garage by Scott Thornton. I started working out with Scott when I retired from basketball. Coming from training at a high level at the Paralympic level for 15 years, and then I took a year off and then when Scott realized this was going to grow into something a lot bigger than he expected, he said, "You want to take over?" So I now own CrossFit industry with 2 other partners. My position here is owner, but also I do the programming. I manage, the people here in the gym. Stephanie handles the coaches for our whole coaching staff, and then Jen handles all the stuff that actually means something, the business end of things. Coming into that rookie season, I've been hit training camp, and that's when it kind of all changed for me. I was at a friend's party, balcony collapsed. I was on that balcony, the railing busted out, and I became a T6 paraplegic. I actually died that night and then came back to life in a helicopter going to Toronto. Was in rehab probably for a record shortest time ever. I got to rehab, I broke my back on June 19th, and they said, "Oh, you got about 6 months of rehabilitation." And I said, "Nah, fuck, I got to go back to school in September." And they're like, "Not a chance." And by September, they were like, "Can you get the fuck out of here?" There's usually depression and stuff that follows behind, and I'm sure that was there with me. I just kind of either stuffed it down inside, and maybe when I'm like 80, it will come back up. I'll be really fucking sad, but I just realized there was no like reason to be upset, because nothing was gonna fucking change about being upset. You'd be like, "Oh, I'm fucking paralyzed. If I cry about it now, that's not gonna change anything. It's not gonna make any difference." And I just figured I gotta figure out how to fucking work this wheelchair and then go on about my life. So it'd be about 9 months of being in a chair. I got an invite to the national team camp, made that team, and that was my life. Like, I just played ball. Sydney, I hit the court in the gold medal game as a rookie, as a guy who'd been in a wheelchair for like a year and a half and was 100%, made all my shots, which was fucking huge. We won a gold medal. Then I knew right then, I was like, okay, this is where I'm at. We went to World Championships, got bronze, came back to the Olympics in Athens in 2004, we got gold again. 2006, we went to Amsterdam for World Championships. I took MVP of that tournament. 2008, we went back to Beijing, lost in double overtime for a silver. And then leading into 2010, I had met Sarah in 2006, my wife, and we were just I was like burnout, right? I was training 6 days a week, and going into 2010, I realized one day, I was like, I'm not having fun anymore. You know what I mean? When I got on the court, it wasn't like I was going to train and have fun, I was going to a job, and I didn't like it anymore, and I walked away in my prime. I went from having fun not doing anything to being like, oh, I'm eating myself to death, or just not having any more fun. I need to find something. And I came across, through my cousin, Scott Thornton, with this gym, and he was like, do you want to do CrossFit? And I was like, what's CrossFit? Like, I have no idea, I'd never even heard of it. And he's like, oh, it's something I was doing out at West in San Jose. And Scott's like, well, what do you think you can do? And I was like, I think I can do anything we want to do. I just got to try.
All right, so I've been in a wheelchair 12 years, T6 paraplegic, told by doctors and trainers and everything that I'd never be able to come up from my chest, from my knees, to just sit up. I always have had to push off my chair to sit back up. Month and a half of CrossFit training.
Yeah, buddy, look at that.
No problem. Never been able to do it in 12 years. Canadian Olympic team, 3 Olympics, University of Illinois, all sorts of trainers, never learned anything. Month and a half of CrossFit.
But it was, those things were what built me into what I wanted to be. Like, gave me a fight that I didn't want to have, but had to, and I'd be falling over the side of my chair. It was challenging me every single time. The only time I could get any kind of thing was to stop. And if I stopped, he'd be like, what are you doing? What are you stopping for? Turn around, come back. And so that, you get frustrated, but I also learned like that frustration was what I needed. Like that frustration is what drove me to be the asshole I am today. 2013, I did the Open. Like I signed up on CrossFit and was like, I'm doing the Open. He called the lawyers and said, listen, he's going to submit scores that aren't going to be to standard. What are you guys going to do? Are you going to like take my affiliate away? And they had conversation and they said no, because we'll just admit him if he gets into the, into something where he would qualify or whatever, but just let him pop his scores in as is. So 2013, I did that, and they were recording. My partner Jen here, she was recording all the workouts, and she was just putting them up on YouTube and tweeting them out, and it just ballooned. It was just like there was guys I'd already kind of touched base with a few guys. Angel Gonzalez, he had just started. His actual wife now, but his girlfriend then, hit me up on Facebook and said, I think my husband or my boyfriend at that time wants to try CrossFit. Can we use your videos to kind of learn from? And I was like, I don't even know if my videos are right. Like, it's just me trying things. But I was like, if you want to do it, there's no textbook behind this. It's just me trying stuff, and this is how it's worked for me. It could be completely different from him. If you get something better out of him, tell me so I can try it too. And I spend all my time now trying shit that I don't think I can do. It's the best way to learn, right? I'll be like, this is gonna be the hardest thing I do today. I probably can't do it, but by trying it, I'll learn how to do it, and eventually I'll do it. That's why when people complain to me, I don't give a shit. It really hurt my one arm today when I walked in the gym. I had to do this one arm workout. That was pretty heavy, Stouty. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't. Sorry, I don't care. So the next year, 2014, I did the Open where I waited to hear what it was. That night, right away, came back to the gym, filmed the adapted movements just for seated. This past year, the 2018 Open, it was like 400 athletes in 22 countries. And we did a lot of testing. So someone like yourself who'd have two arms, say, hit this workout with two arms. Tomorrow, hit it with one arm. See what your times are different. What weight would you have to do to match that time? So we get that number and be like, okay, that's about 75% of the prescribed weight. So we started playing around with 75, we played with 85, lots of competitions, lots of testing, and knowing and saying to the athletes, like, hey, we're not positive yet. So yeah, you might get a little cheesed, but I looked at it as no different than if you're 5'4" and you get in a wall ball workout against someone who's 6'6", you're gonna get crushed. I don't care how good you are at wall balls, that 6'6" guy doesn't have to work as hard. But when you get on to pull-ups, that 240 pounder is getting destroyed by the guy that's super light. So I looked at it the same way. I looked at it in that kind of light, and when people would complain, I'd be like, so what? Work harder, man, train harder. Do more work, get better. Don't come to me saying, he's got an advantage because you didn't have to do as heavy a weight. So you do the same weight he did with one arm. Tell me it was easier, right? Don't give me that excuse. Work harder, you're not as fit. And people don't want to hear that shit.
Talk about the Logan Aldridge memory.
Oh yeah.
That workout.
The Pucosaurus. So you got Casey Cree and Logan Aldridge, and then you've got, there's firepower everywhere. Everybody there had made it there, and they're coming from all over the place. And that thing goes, and those two start hitting the air squats like it's, yeah, like pop, 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 pop. And I'm just like, oh, there's no way they're keeping this pace. It's not gonna happen. And Mark Gill was there, and he was hitting it just as fast, and he's a visually impaired athlete, and he takes off on the run. Logan takes off on the run. Casey takes off on the run. Omar's on that run. I think Sebastian, good crew anyways, right? And I get the radio call, they're in the water, they hit the water, because I'm at the finish line, and the water is 2 miles away. We told them it was a mile. And Logan comes back, I think he's in 4th place or something, and he hits the air squats just as hard as he hit the first set, and squeezes himself, I think, into 3rd at that point in time, and then fountain pukes. The last rep, he takes 2 steps off of the finish line, and it's like the puke was coming out of his mouth and touching the ground at the same time. Like there was no break in it. It was just this. And he finally, when he comes back around, he's all white, and I come over and I was like, "How was that?" Just grinning. "How was that, dude?" He's like, "Stouty. I saw the Lord out in that water." And all I could think was, it's like, what a wuss. This guy. It's like, it's one event. It's the first event. I thought this guy's supposed to be superhuman. And then I tried swimming with one arm and was like, oh, it's not that easy.
Logan Aldridge, Neuse River CrossFit. So at 13 years old, I lost my arm. What you don't know is that I was very into alligators at that age. No, that's not the truth at all. I often tell people that I lost my arm to gator wrestling. I believe that was going to be my calling if I would have made it to like my mid-20s with both arms. I think I would have gone down a route of nature wrestling. But the reality of the situation is, at 13 years old, I lost my arm in a boating accident. I'm 28 years old now, so it's been over half my life with one arm. I personally don't think anything of it. It's the way life is for me. But just to give you some context, I was a competitive wakeboarder and still love to wakeboard now, but at that age I was very into extreme sports. Skateboarding, snowboarding, wakeboarding. For the first time at our lake house that we had just gotten around when I was 10 or 11, I saw someone jump the wake on a wakeboard boat and my jaw dropped and I said, that is so badass. I want to learn how to do that. So I'm the type of person that when I think something is cool or interesting or neat, I become laser focused and go all in, if you will, on learning and mastering or just trying to participate and figure out whatever that hobby or skill or craft might be. And so for this one, at the age of 13, it was all about wakeboarding. Finishing up a day of wakeboarding with a friend of mine, drop him off at his dock. I begin to pull in the rope like I do, put away the life jackets. When I'm pulling in the rope, I'm using that technique that we've all probably done in some form or another with a extension cord or a garden hose, where we hold our arm in this 90-degree angle and we loop that rope over the thumb, under the elbow, always trying to get that neat, perfect circle. I had a couple loops like that and saw the rope was drifting underneath the back platform of the boat. And it happens sometimes in water sports. And so I just, without panic in my voice, told my dad, rope's underneath the boat. As soon as I told him that, he went to turn off the motor, but unfortunately the propeller caught the rope right then and there. And when it did, as you can imagine, with those loops being around my arm and the other end anchored to the tower of the wakeboard boat, it just did an extreme tourniquet. It just cinched down around my bicep and tricep and basically cinching it down to the bone. It didn't rip my arm off. I don't mean to get graphic or gory here, but my arm just kind of laid flat like this, kind of went limp. And I remember at that moment looking around and thinking, oh, that was weird. And it didn't even really hurt. But looking across the boat at my mom, my dad, and my mom saying, Wesley, his arm, and him stepping over a few steps from the cockpit of the boat and beginning to uncoil that rope. When he began that process is when a lot of the reality and severity of this Saturday evening accident started to sink in. There's an artery coming out of your heart going right into your left arm. That was severed. So when he unwound that rope, it was not just I began to bleed. It was like it covered a 23-foot boat that was white and it became red in a couple minutes. Thank God for my father's quick thinking to rip his shirt off, wrap it around, pull it as tight as he can, make a tourniquet. Had he not done so, I definitely would have bled out in about 5 minutes. Long story short, rush to a local hospital. They fly me to UNC Children's Hospital. They perform surgeries, they take arteries out of legs and get blood flow, and all of this is just a little bit too late to allow the muscles to accept the blood and regenerate. So they have to amputate my left arm. What made that a bit more monumental than just a traditional amputation, an upper extremity amputation, was that I was left-handed. And that was pretty significant because not only, I think lefties are a little bit more unicorns than righties. So take a unicorn out of this world, and that was pretty sad. So I'm living life with a right arm, figuring things out, tying shoes, buttoning shirts, going to school, being a kid, doing the stuff you do. Fortunately, I enjoyed talking about it, so I began sharing my message, had some cool opportunities to try to empower people to exceed expectations in their own life. I experienced throughout high school and in college from my peers and family members a lot of judgments and expectations on what Logan might be capable of now with one arm compared to the crazy active kid he was before with two. My motivation was not to prove them wrong, but to show myself I was very capable of the things I did before. I didn't know that with certainty, but I knew I wouldn't accept an expectation that I wasn't, or a stigma that you're just not able to do something with one hand that you were with two. CrossFit really didn't catch me in that sense in college. I thought it was frankly just too hard. I was like, why do people want to work this hard? So I graduated and was working a corporate job and decided that, you know what? Is this the life I'm gonna live where I go to work, I finish, and I go to a gym and put on headphones and everyone is doing their own thing, and then I come home, and that's it. Like I could see how that could become a template of a life I could end up living, and I didn't want that. So I said, you know what, now that I'm settled, I have this job, let me look around here in Raleigh and identify what the CrossFit community is like here and go see if I can do it. I was up for the challenge. So I found a local CrossFit affiliate. I joined, and when I joined, I immediately became hooked. I found that every day I showed up, I didn't know what the workout was gonna be. I didn't know what was gonna be asked of me, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed a moment of, Logan, this is what is going to happen today. How will you do this? And me not knowing the answer, but coming up with a solution. I knew with certainty that I wanted to identify or find out what I was capable of in fitness, but most importantly, I wanted to show my journey, show what I was doing, and why I was doing it. It was not to become a guy with one arm who can clean and jerk 200 pounds. It was, if that happened, that's great, and I will share that, but I hope that that was a message to try to empower someone else to think, wow, well, if he could do that with one arm, then I sure should be able to do a bit more than I might think I'm capable of. And within that, I've been so lucky and blessed and privileged to curate here in Raleigh, North Carolina at Neuse River, my gym, this adaptive community. These individuals represent this community and are the ones, the face behind it. And that's so cool to see, this adaptive community within our community at Neuse River organically blossom. The funnest part about all of this, from my perspective, is the opportunity to coach those athletes. And I think there's an easy paralysis to have happen when we say we're coaching adaptive athletes. So in my mind, because I am someone with one arm, when someone in a wheelchair may roll into the gym, there is no coaching paralysis in my mind. That's just another athlete. That may sound harsh if you are listening in and not aware of the position that I take or that I advocate for with adaptive training, but it's most important for me to instill in the training, in fitness, quality of life transference. Instead of coddling or telling an adaptive athlete, I'm here for you, this is it, I'm here to help, but challenge them. I believe more than anything, we only grow when we're uncomfortable. I believe that's why the mentality of CrossFit is so effective and we see change so fast, because every day we're uncomfortable, but we're uncomfortable together. And when we're uncomfortable together, we have a lot more power and strength within our mindset to persevere. I think the 2015 Open was starting, and there was jumping rope in there, specifically double unders. And I remember realizing that when I read the workout and walked into the gym, that in my head, I just went, oh shit, how am I gonna jump rope? So in my room, as I'm having these thoughts, I'm looking at a corner full of lacrosse shafts, and I think of the movement pattern, the two hands here, and I thought, okay, I think there's a solution here. Simply take a shaft, a lacrosse shaft, put the jump rope handles in each end, and that might work. So I slept on that, and the next day I went into the gym and brought in the lacrosse shaft and some athletic tape and just stuck the handles in, taped them up, and performed, I believe, 100 skipping rope single unders right there with that. And that's when I had the light bulb moment. I said, aha, this is a solution. Because frankly, more so than being able to participate in the CrossFit Open workout and do the movement that was prescribed, it's way more rewarding and fulfilling to jump rope for the first time in 13 years. That was the most supportive and encouraging part of doing that movement. It was not that now I can compete, but it was now I feel as if I did when I had my two arms and I jumped rope. And that was it was surreal. It was an amazing feeling to have that happen. And I wanted every other person in this world who suffers from limb difference, amputation, paralysis of one side, the opportunity to feel that. So when I learned about WheelWOD as an organization and what he was doing, releasing these daily workouts and providing some education for those in wheelchairs to train better, I was like, this is brilliant. This is the way that we get more people, empower more people, and encourage them to be a part of this and to be involved in this platform. So I thought, how can I contribute? I would love to be a part of WheelWOD, but dang, I'm not in a wheelchair. Gosh, I think it was a year or two went by. Stouty and I would interact indirectly through Crossroads and maybe at a competition or at a seminar, and I began to just train myself as an athlete. I was the test subject. I needed to try everything out that I was creating or adapting in movement-wise on myself. So I did. And the other adaptive athletes that were trickling into the gym, I would experiment and we would work together and see what worked and didn't, take note and learn from it. Meanwhile, the whole time, Chris Stouty, he's constantly creating this database, if you will, of movements and adaptations and different variances for different adaptive needs based on paralysis height for a seated athlete. And then he started to realize that this WheelWOD platform was being looked at by the adaptive community as a whole. It wasn't just for seated athletes anymore. I have some adaptive needs in my life, but I'm not living a life adapted. My life is very fulfilled, and I believe you could talk to any athlete with adaptive needs and you will get a similar response, that what's most important to them is that they have functionality and quality in their life. WheelWOD allows adaptive athletes the opportunity to compete on the largest scale global fitness competition, Wodapalooza. Right now is one of the most exciting times for the WheelWOD athletes because they're headed to Wodapalooza. I'm headed to Wodapalooza, and I'm so excited because we've constantly seen that the process is the same for everyone. The online qualifier that adaptive athletes participated in is the exact same setting and expectation and standard that the elite Matt Fraziers and Noah Olsons of the world just participated in as well. And I'm excited and honored to participate in that. Frankly, because I bust my ass in here. I don't do all the training I do in here just to hope I inspire one person. There's a bit selfishness where I'm trying to compete and win. This is why Wodapalooza is the place for us to highlight the ability within adaptive athletes, because it is the one place where everyone has the opportunity and is given the respect to demonstrate their ability on a platform. And I think that's why Wodapalooza and WheelWOD go hand in hand, because it's a global outreach and people come from all walks of life. The stories differ by degree, not kind. And Wodapalooza is the platform where you blur the lines between what you perceive someone is physically capable of and what is demonstrated on a competitive platform with no impairments being highlighted, just physical ability.
horseshoes. I was one of the only people to do that. That felt like a very smart move until we stepped into the water.
So the sandbags we plan to carry are in the worms, and we don't have permission to open the worms and take them out to then put them back in the worms. So equipment-wise, we kind of got Jimmy hooked a bit, but what we came back with was Jake, our equipment guy, pulled the pins out of the yokes, and that allows us to still keep a carry. So as a seated athlete, we were going to lap the sandbag off a box into the lap, and now instead of having to do that, we're going to use this so to keep it more like a carry. So we're going to grab it, bring it to the lap, and then wheel it across, and then control it back down to the floor. We'll add weights and change weights. For the standing guys, John would pick it up one arm only, and he can carry it however he wants. As long as he's carrying it, he could lap it right up to his shoulder if he really felt like that was the way he wanted to. If he knew how to do it. There we go. And he can move it like that. So we still keep our carry, we still keep the difficulty of the grip to work with the rope climbs, and we make those changes.
Gotta adapt.
Punches, gotta adapt.
Gotta adapt.
From Bar X CrossFit. So I'm 11 years old. I turned 12 in 3 months. I'm in 6th grade from St. Louis, Missouri. Started doing CrossFit about 4 years ago when my dad started, and it sounded really fun. So I'm like, Dad, I want to do it, because you're doing it. So what I love about being here is meeting people who are like me, know what I'm going through, know the same things as me.
Wasn't my best finish this weekend, but honestly, for like the goal I set for myself, first time here, first time doing a long competition, like I'm well within that. I'm happy with what I've done. Happy with my competition as well. Like nobody's giving me an inch, you know.
It's a dream come true. I never imagined being here a year from now, like a year ago. I mean, I love it because I just got into CrossFit like a month before Wodapalooza because my coach got into it, and saw her compete, and then I saw the adaptives, like, whoa, I can do this too. Let me get in on this. I'm done just working out to get in shape. I want to compete. I want to go around the world and stuff. Let's see where we can go with this.
You know, I got my first taste with wheel wad in the Open in 2017. And it was just something that I just happened to, I honestly can't even tell you how I came across it. I think I just started Googling adaptive CrossFit and what kind of availabilities there were, because you know, I knew with the Paralympic system being what it was and how quickly it was starting to evolve, I was kind of like, I'd be surprised if there wasn't something for CrossFit at this point. And sure enough, I came across WheelWOD, and I was able to send a few emails to Stouty when he first started posting out the workouts in 2017, and got my clarifications and ended up doing really well in the open. I'm like, wow, maybe this is something that I could actually look forward to. And I think CrossFit in general itself fed into that competitive nature really well. One, the community that I had no reserves of me being in the gyms. There was no hindrances, no limitations whatsoever. My coaches were really willing to just jump on it right away and help me find ways to adapt and modify any event or any movement that we needed to. And everyone was just, I was one of the guys, you know, and it felt awesome. And it's grown in ways that I never would have expected. For me to be here in Miami right now is something that I never would have thought would ever happen. And that's why I take every second of this experience, you know, as humbly as I possibly can, because it's tremendous.
Casey Acree, CrossFit Enhance. Right now in life, coach CrossFit, manager of a CrossFit gym in Decatur, Illinois. I've been involved in some form of athletics pretty much my entire life. Wodapalooza was my first competition in 2016, 2017. And that was actually also the first year that I believe Stouty was basically overseeing all of the programming and all of the kind of the organization of the adaptive division. So it was that year that I kind of learned what WheelWOD was through you know, learning about him a little bit more. You know, I think ultimately the goal is to give adaptive athletes the most competitive platform that we possibly can. We want to feel like we're being held to a strict standard, that it's a level playing field, which is probably one of the most difficult things to do since the adaptations are so varied. The great thing about Logan and I is that we have never had the vision or the mindset of, yes, we're against each other, we're both very competitive, but ultimately we're both still trying to uplift the sport. You know, having been here for a few years and done some other competitions, the friendships that I've gotten with the other guys in our division, it's just a really, really awesome group of people. And the in-between, the lead up to the events, and then after workouts, whenever, you know, there's always that little bit of nervous tension before we go out, but we're still close enough, and we're all just really, really cool that we're chatting, we're helping each other out, we're getting prepped. And then when the workout's over, I think it's actually kind of rare. You don't see it in a lot of the other divisions, but every single guy in our division like hangs out and waits until everyone is done, and you're guaranteed to get like a fist bump or a hug or a high five from every single other person that you just competed with. And I think that those are some of my favorite moments whenever we have just finished like a brutal workout and we're like gassed and our muscles are sore. We kind of feel like throwing up, but we're like, hey guys, that was awesome. We represented, and I think that that's been kind of a key part of our division is the camaraderie and the support.
I feel good though, man. That was a killing workout. It was, hey, pure strength, man. Disabled but not really, baby. We got this. Nice work. Yeah. Nice work.
So we had a hiccup. We're supposed to have 14 90-pound dumbbells. We ended up with 50 because all we could get for those wheels because there's only 12. We discussed moving 2 guys into a heat, the last 2 places into the next heat. It really wasn't in spirit of what we want to do here. We want those guys to compete in the same heat the entire time. It's not, you know, it would be, I put myself in that situation, was like, oh, if I was finishing last and second last and I had to go in a completely separate heat with a completely different division, not compete with the guys I've been competing with all weekend in the same heat, we didn't feel it was right. So we tested a workout with a 50-pound dumbbell because we have a lot of those, increase the distance to make sure that they're going to get the same stimulus. We had John test it, who's fairly proficient with the strongman kind of single arm awkward object carries like an overhead dumbbell carry. he used the snatch weight. He was completely exhausted. You can see, if you check back on the video, you can see it beat him up. It was the right kind of test. It was the sprint test. Those who are going to struggle with the snatch bar are probably going to get capped out anyways. Those who are not, that sprint with the 50 is going to make a big difference because they're going to be pushing the pace. So we feel like we're still going to get the same stimulus. We're going to make the equipment work. We'll use the 50s, the 35s for the women. We'll use the 35s and the 20s for the scaled, and we'll just increase the distance to 80 feet.
You looked really strong. What would you say to somebody that's never done this before to get them in the game? What would you say?
Just start small, and don't be afraid to like really push yourself and get outside your comfort zone. That was the biggest thing for me when I started starting. Yeah.
How you feel, Stouty? It's all done, man. How you
That was
think?
good. It was good. It was good.
Good?
We'll be better next year, harder next year, but that was good. I'll be happy with that.
Bye.